What up, my tea sipping, ripping motherfucking dudes? Cooper, Webb, and KTM have officially parted ways, boys. I know this is a bit of a shocker here. I don't think any of us was expecting this just dead nut in the middle of the pro motocross season like this, but I think the reason for that was Cooper Webb just had a practice crash that took him out of the Pro Motocross Championship. So they basically just went ahead and ended the deal between Webb and KTM. They pretty much did it early. I think this was actually going on even beforehand. I think the plan was for even when Webb crashed back in Supercross, when Adam Cianciarulo completely ran over the top of his head, right? That crash was technically supposed to be the last time Webb was ever going to be on a KTM, but then they made like a little deal where Webb could race outdoors, and then he crashed out of outdoors in the practice crash, and so that's why they have now parted ways, okay? So this is a bit wild here. I know a lot of people are thinking Webb's going to go to Star Yamaha. I've been thinking Webb's going to go to Star Yamaha for like the past 3 or 4 years. It would just make sense at this point. But I know a lot of people's also been talking about a potential Tomac comeback for a 1-year deal. Rumors all over the place about that. It'd be really hard to imagine Webb and Tomac on the same team. I can't really picture that one right now. It's possible, I suppose, but yeah, but we still don't know 420% for sure that Tomac's actually going to come back, and if he does, I don't think he's going to be the same Tomac, I've made a bunch of videos on that, thinking that, he may try to come back, but he ain't going to be that same Tomac after a torn Achilles, or a ruptured Achilles, better yet. I just don't think he's going to be the same. But nonetheless, I think that Webb could actually be really good on that Star Yamaha because he was on the Star Yamaha obviously back in the 250 days. That was some of the best riding I've ever seen Webb do back in the Star Yamaha 250 days as far as aggression and stuff like that. For some reason, it just seems to me like the KTM just kind of... obviously Webb looked really good when he was winning the 450 Supercross championships on KTM. He was able to cut the bike down really tight in the corners. He still always looked a little bit bizarre in the whoops on the KTM. I know everybody and their grandmother has talked about that. He was, a professional whoop jumper, basically. But yeah, even like Ryan Dungey going from the Suzuki to KTM back in the day. Even, Aaron Plessinger going from the Yamaha to the KTM. Anytime I've ever seen any of these riders go from some other kind of, factory team and they go to KTM on the 450, it just kind of makes them look a little bit more restricted on the bike. It makes them look a little bit more sluggish on the bike in a certain kind of weird way. And I felt like that's the exact same kind of thing that happened to Cooper Webb. I just think that Yamaha team that Cooper Webb was on before, it wasn't the Star Yamaha, right? He went from the 250 Star Yamaha to whatever that other Yamaha team 450 in-house Yamaha team was that, Chad Reed was on there at the end, and Plessinger was on there, and they couldn't figure out how to ride the bike, I think it's a whole different story with the actual Star Yamaha. I think if Webb does happen to be able to get on that bike, it's going to be pretty legit, dog. I think he's going to be on another level if he goes to that. But, yeah, basically all the information came out of Webb and KTM. Apparently, of course, they always say this, but they said it was a mutual agreement to basically part ways. We still don't technically know what team Webb's going to, but he did say in his post at the very end, he said, "We will see you soon at the races," or something like, "Be back soon, be back at the races soon." I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like that. So I would expect some sort of information here over the next couple months. This is kind of a question whether or not Webb is going to race in the, SuperMotocross, last 3 rounds of that, like the playoff rounds and all that, on a completely different team. That may be kind of his, testing rounds on a completely new team. I'm not exactly sure how all that's going to go down, but yeah, I just wanted to make this video, just talk about it a little bit. Webb is already off of KTM here. So, I guess the question arises of who's going to go to KTM in his place. Where is Webb going to go? I really don't know. I really don't know. You kind of got dudes like Adam Sansarulo, kind of seems like they're a little bit on their way out or on their way to a different team or something. Who knows how all that's going to go down, and then you got all the crazy drama going on with Tomac right now. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. I guess we don't technically have a lot of guys moving up from 250 at the moment. I'm pretty sure Hunter Lawrence is going to at least race 250 Supercross next year before he goes 450, and you'd have to imagine he's going Honda 450, and you'd have to imagine Chase Sexton, that's the other little piece of this trifecta of team changes right here. It's like, is Sexton going to go to KTM? A lot of people predicting that. That may be what kind of already started pushing Webb out the door, but it'd be hard to imagine Webb would go to Honda if you got Hunter Lawrence coming up. I think Honda's really wanting to have Jet and Hunter on the same team, 450 team. That would be dominance, to say the least, but so then it kind of, is it like Webb could go to Cowie, Webb could go to Star Yami. It's hard to believe Webb would go to like a Gas or a Husky, since he was just on KTM. They're kind of like, team family or whatever you want to call it, right? So you'd have to imagine it would either be like Kawasaki or Star Yami Hall, but if Tomac's coming back, hard to believe it would be like, I could see Webb and like Anderson on Kawasaki at the same time. I could actually see that being a thing. I cannot see Webb and Tomac being on the same team at the same time. I mean, Star Yami Hall may just have the money to do it and may just have the craziness to do it. I don't know. But that just seems a little bizarre. They're a little too close of direct competitors, I would say. But just depends on where Tomac's at when he comes back, if he comes back, and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, this is definitely interesting. Things are going to get real spicy, I feel like, here this next year of Supercross and Motocross, as far as 450 teams and where everybody's at and stuff like that. But, I mean, obviously, Cooper Webb did what he had to do on that KTM. He went from being pretty much a nobody in the 450 class, basically for Webb standards, to winning. I think he won a 450 Supercross championship his first year on the KTM, I'm pretty sure. And he ended up getting 2 of those, I think, right? So, I mean, yeah, Webb was obviously comfortable enough on the bike. I know this year in particular, Webb talked about, like on the podium and stuff, he talked about, good Lord, man, we changed everything on the bike. We had to change everything. Tomac was laughing and shit in the post-race press conference of one of the Supercross races. Some of you boys probably remember that, but so I think Webb and KTM have kind of went a little up and down. They've had their good years. They've kind of had their not so good years together. It was time. I mean, I'll admit it, just like anybody else will, just like probably Webb will. It was probably time for Webb to get a little bit of a change there. Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see if, like I say, how this changes Webb's riding, because the KTM is just so different. And it did happen to work for him. So, but I just think Webb would also be really good on like a Star Yami Hall or a Monster Energy Cowie. I think he's going to be just as good or better, honestly. I mean, yeah, Webb loved that, cut the inside corners real tight like a Dungey on the KTM. He kind of started to develop that sort of style in Supercross, but if you remember Webb back in the 250 Star Yami Hall days, I mean, he rode really loose he was really flowy on the bike. You know, it wasn't until he got on that KTM where he kind of got a little bit more, like I'm saying, a little more restricted, a little bit worse in the whoops. So I think he would be good on either one of those kind of teams. Definitely Star Yamaha, I would say. That would be the best bet if he can get on there, you know. But I think that really depends on what Tomac's going to do, you know, like I'm saying. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, Webb, you know, if you win your first 450 championship the first year that you get on a new team, you're obviously going to have a certain amount of comfort on that bike. You see what I'm saying? So it may take Webb like a year to get used to whatever new bike that he's on, and it may not. I have no idea. It really just seems to depend on which bike seems to have the right kind of stuff on it for whatever the new version is of whatever bike manufacturer it is, you know what I mean? So it just like, he might happen to be able to get the right kind of mix of stuff on that, you know? I don't know exactly, but either way, man, that's about it for this one. I appreciate you guys clicking on another Galaxy Boy video. Definitely let me know down in the comments what team you think we're going to see Webb on, how good you think he's going to do on it, you know. Let me know, man. I'd like to see. So, either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Webb and Dungey seem to be the two big KTM boys as far as championships in the 450 class, so Webb was definitely able to do what he had to do on that bike. We'll see if he can, you know, pull like go to another team and be even better. I don't know. It's possible, man. Webb's still young when you really think about it for the amount of championships he has. I mean, he's kind of in that Adam Cianciarulo sort of age bracket. I think we're going to see Webb race for at least another 3 or 4 years minimum. I think he's really wanting to go out there and solidify himself in the, you know, the overall championship, you know, the record books. I think he's really going to try to do that, and it'll be fun to watch, man, for show. See y'all boys on that next one. Later, dudes.